In this WrestleTalk news, WWE suffer a major ticket sale fail and has to move Money in the Bank. WWE higher-ups not convinced Stephanie McMahon can carry out her role, and so much more. So subscribe and enable notifications to Always On for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
So WWE were planning on this year being their big return to live stadium events after the overall easing of COVID restrictions, but that plan is now off to a full start because word started going around that WWE might be looking to move Money in the Bank out of Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas due to poor ticket sales. This was then confirmed in an email to current ticket holders offering them a fabulous opportunity to get their money back and then be among the first to book tickets for a new venue, the much smaller MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas. Now the MGM has a capacity of 17,000 seats, which is a significant drop from Allegiant's max of 65,000. Though WrestleTalk noted that WWE had Allegiant Stadium set up for 27,114 fans, but so far had only sold 19,594 tickets. It is not a great switcheroo for the WWE fans who had pre-purchased their tickets, as David Bixenspan pointed out on Twitter, saying, "I'm sure everyone who bought non-refundable flights to go to Money in the Bank will be thrilled by the news that every ticket holder is being refunded for a fresh on sale in an arena that holds less fans than tickets had been sold." Another factor suggested for the poor sales and subsequent move is that WWE is hitting Vegas not 5 weeks after AEW run Double or Nothing in the same territory, and also Money in the Bank is in the exact same month as SummerSlam, a much bigger show for the company. Come on, guys. WWE's biggest fan, CM Punk, couldn't help but take the opportunity to have a little laugh at the expense of his former corporate bosses, posting a picture of Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter from the WrestleMania 7 advertising from 1991, which was famously moved from the LA Coliseum to the smaller Los Angeles Sports Arena due to poor ticket sales. Though WWE definitely tried to cover that one up by saying the move was due to a bomb threat, but they were then called out by the Wrestling Observer. And common decency, guys. Now, the smaller arena not only holds less fans, but seemingly can't hold as big stars either, as WWE have also used the opportunity to refresh the advertising for Money in the Bank. Now, the original posters for the event featured Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, who were all missing from the new poster for the sale of MGM tickets. Now, beyond Sasha's obvious exclusion for being naughty, and some stars like Lesnar being off screen at the minute, so it's almost a complete overhaul of the stars present, as Drew McIntyre and Bianca Belair do make the jump, but Riddle, Cody Rhodes, The Street Profits, Rhea Ripley, and The Miz are now all taking new spaces on the poster.
Visit WrestleShop.com every day for the most stupendous in wrestling merchandise. WrestleShop.com, wrestling merch for grown-ups.
Now, moving the location of an entire pay-per-view is not the only major shake-up WWE has undergone recently, because it was reported last week that Stephanie McMahon would be stepping away from her role effective immediately to spend more time with her family. Now, PW Insider were told yesterday that WWE held a all-hands-on-deck meeting with staff, and in that meeting, McMahon's absence was addressed, saying she needed time after everything her family had been going through since Triple H's cardiac event and subsequent health issues. It was noted too in the meeting that new hires will be brought in to fill some of the roles that Stephanie occupied, though they wouldn't be starting for a few weeks, which does give the impression, though, that she's not going to be returning to the company anytime soon. Now, last week, Wade Keller of PWTorch.com reported that there were many other reasons McMahon had stepped away, though he was also told not to expect these to come out, though if it did, it was said it wouldn't be a public scandal, though the matter was very private. Stephanie did also remove references to WWE from her LinkedIn profile, as pointed out by David Bixenspan, though that could just be nothing too. Adding to this whole mystery now, Mat Men's Andrew Zarian said he had spoken to someone high up in WWE who expressed doubt about Stephanie McMahon's ability to fulfill her obligations in certain aspects of her executive job at WWE as the chief brand officer. He specifically referenced the realms of advertising and sponsorship in that. What do you mean Steph's not good at the sponsorship stuff? There was that bit where they were flinging the pizza into the crowd, the zombie thing. That was all her. Yesterday also saw the AEW Double or Nothing media call with Tony Khan, and the very first question fielded pertained to MJF's contract status, a hot topic that is continually brought up by the young man himself. Now, MJF has openly discussed the end of his contract in a number of interviews and said he would be willing to sign with whoever pays the most. And the rumor engine has suggested that he is frustrated with his AEW contract contract as it stands, leading to legit tension with TK. Now, Khan said in response that he enjoys and embraces blending the real-life drama with the kayfabe world in AEW. Classic save. He says, I think wrestling thrives when real life meets on screen. The real-life conflict is often just as exciting as any conflict on screen, which is one of the great things about what AEW has brought to the wrestling business. There was no real major free agent market with top stars crossing promotions and debuting, and frankly, the competition needed to be brought to the biggest stage. He said, I think taking what's happening in real life and potential movement and contract negotiations, it's exciting stuff, and it's added another element to what's already a very exciting match at Double or Nothing with Wardlow versus MJF, who has been very vocal not only about his own contract, but about his former bodyguard and how he feels about him and how he's tried to hold down his career. In a now deleted tweet, MJF seemingly responded to this blending of real life and kayfabe with "F***ing lol, this place, man. Could all be a work, could be nothing." Once again, the whole thing kind of straddles the line between shoot and work, but Tony Khan seems to be teasing that Double or Nothing might give us some revelation into MJF's contract status, or might at least give him the opportunity to just go off on one about it. Tony also gave some more insight into his purchase of Ring of Honor and why he chose not to bring it in under the AEW banner. He said it was a unique opportunity. I was on the phone and I heard that if I paid a certain price, I could buy Ring of Honor then and there. I didn't want to complicate it or make it any more difficult than it was going to be. I just said, I'll do it right then and there. It makes sense for Ring of Honor to be its own brand and stand on its own feet. I'm not saying Ring of Honor is a subsidiary of AEW or secondary in any way. Tony then said that they're still working on a plan for running more ROH shows and securing a future TV or streaming deal, but Khan seemed confident that they'd find a partner for that. So there is that too. He's also, by his own admission, a man with 1,000 unused AEW belts in his office. That is obviously an exaggeration, but he did say that he had multiple unseen belts made and was storing them in his office. One thing he was asked about on the media call was the possibility of AEW women's tag team titles, to which he responded, I have thought about doing those, and as we continue to expand the roster and hopefully get more teams and get some people who have been injured back on the shelf, that would be something I would love to do in future. And merely loving to do it would already set AEW apart from WWE, who it seems begrudgingly brought the women's tag team titles into existence and then spent 3 years basically ignoring them. This all obviously came to a head recently as Sasha Banks and Naomi reportedly walked out of Raw after reportedly becoming frustrated with their booking. Now, Renee Paquette has been talking about the incident and the disrespect that WWE seems to treat those specific belts with in the Throwing Down podcast. She said, the women's tag team titles have only existed in WWE for a couple of years, and as soon as they were brought into the fold, they were important for about 30 seconds and then nobody cared. There was no true women's tag teams and they just quickly lost their luster really quickly. The best case is that they finally let these women do what they want to do and start really working on the tag division. One other batch advancement in this ongoing story was WWE having Michael Cole read a pre-prepared statement about how Banks and Naomi had let everybody down. It's your own time you're wasting. It was weird, it was gross, and so many worse things have happened in WWE that completely go uncommented on. So this is just so strange. Monday Night Raw commentator Jimmy Smith also addressed the walkout too, and specifically WWE's statement about it on his podcast, saying, what it feels like what the WWE is doing, and I don't know, they haven't discussed it with me, they're getting ahead of the ability of Sasha Banks and Naomi to put out their own narrative, right? If you don't say why, they'll say why, and it will paint them in a different light than WWE, and WWE wants their own perspective out there. Control your narrative, I guess. Huge corporation. I just think the thing is, it does make you wonder though what they thought Banks or Naomi would say, because Vince McMahon literally said on the Pat McAfee podcast that he doesn't mind being called an asshole. So what could they possibly have said that made WWE scramble to get out ahead of what they were going to say?
With all of those things, I think what's interesting, please.
I was going to, well, because we've had some big sequels in the past, you know, Godfather Part 2, The Empire Strikes Back, Back to the Future 2, you know, movies that arguably improve upon the first one. Is this one of those movies?
Back to the Future 2 improves on the Future 1.
I mean, I did want to use it as a punchline, but there is also part of me that when I was a kid,